Is UCLA leaving the Pac-12? And, you know, we've talked about this a lot, and we've talked about the fact that the UC Board of Regents today are scheduled to talk about UCLA with UCLA and make this decision on if UCLA can stay in the Pac-12 or should they be allowed to vacate and go to greener pastures in the Big Ten. I have no doubt, and maybe little doubt is the right way to say it, but I have very little doubt that UCLA is going to the Big Ten. I think at the end of the day, it's what's best for the UC system, and I think they know that. If you block UCLA to the Big Ten, you're probably blocking Cal to the Big Ten, which would be bad for everybody. So I think ultimately UCLA ends up in the Big Ten. But Jake, I guess the question is, without UCLA, is the Pac-12 a viable conference?
Yeah, you know, I think, is it a viable conference? That's a really tough question to answer right now just because of, you know, expansion and all these rumors about like who the PAC might add and what this conference looks like. But I certainly think it's fair to say that without UCLA, which admittedly has not been some amazing football program over the last decade, but is definitely a big-time educational facility. It's definitely a big-time school.
Institution.
Yeah, an institution of higher learning where we don't know how to win football games. Yeah, you know, I think that the Pac-12 has a path forward without UCLA, but I also think that, you know, this just comes down to money. Like, I just hope everyone understands that. Like, this isn't about, like, you know, travel plans or recruiting or any other detail with inside of football. Like, yes, those are topics, those are things that will be broached, and those are things that need to be figured out, and we're going to talk about those things today. But this conversation, and particularly in the Pac-12, because they struggle so much with distribution and bringing money in, this is a money conversation in many different ways. So to me, you know,
Why'd you stop? Doing? What do you mean?
What are you doing right now?
Cracking open a rock
Hey,
star.
you start talking shit.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, why would you? I was on a flow right there.
Nah, you're never on a flow. The point is,
come on,
that UCLA leaving the Pac-12 is a death knell. Why do we have to like spin this? And well, maybe if they got super chicks to offer up free chicken sandwiches, deluxe chicken sandwiches to every school.
Cabos.
Listen. Without UCLA, the Pac-12 is dead. And we can sit here and spin and hope and wonder. USC's gone. Without UCLA, the Pac-12 is dead. They don't have Los Angeles. They don't have Southern California. They have nothing, frankly, south of Stanford, south of Palo Alto. That's a problem.
Yeah.
You've got, you know, UC Berkeley and Stanford, and then everything else is, frankly, east and north, and that's just not going to work because you don't have Los Angeles anymore.
That's an issue.
So I guess my point is this even a conversation? Well, it is, because I think that George Kliavkoff, in my opinion, has been dishonest and disingenuous with the numbers that he has given to the Board of Regents. And there's been all of these, you know, conversations about, you know, well, what is their impact? Well, the impact is that you're making $34 million a year per school in the Pac-12, and in the Big Ten, UCLA's looking at a $75 million per season payday just from their TV rights. That doesn't even include postseason. That doesn't even include all the other revenue that would be higher because of the Big Ten. Nobody wants to talk about that. I also think what UCLA has said about USC and being a travel partner with USC and splitting charter flights, and I think that makes perfect sense. And what I love is the homers in the media that cover the Pac-10 are like, well, that's a huge rivalry. Nobody's going to want to, USC and UCLA are not going to want to fly together. So wait, let me get this right. You're telling me, and I'm not talking about football, because obviously USC and UCLA are not going to share a charter to the same areas. That's not going to happen. But if USC and UCLA basketball are heading back to play, you know, let's say Maryland and Michigan State, they're going to stay there for a week and they're going to share a charter flight for each of those three areas. so that they lower their cost. It's easier on the student, and they're doing these jamboree situations where they go and they stay out east for a week. They have full educational infrastructure, and they play athletic games. And it keeps them within the legal parameters of how many hours kids are allowed to spend on their chosen sport.
Yeah.
If the UC Board of Regents is looking at this as a way to help the Pac-12 survive, that's a complete mistake. And it wouldn't surprise me if that happens because California is so dysfunctional.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of rules. There are a lot of things that they do have to abide by. But I just think that, again, when it comes to making money, like the Pac-12 is in this situation because they haven't done well enough. And I first want to say I think it's super courageous that USC and UCLA sort of took the leap because, frankly, no one else is doing what these two are doing. No one else has said, yeah, we're going to change course here and we're going to change conferences.
Yeah.
And, it's also important to understand that SC and UCLA are in two very different positions here. Like, SC is a private institution, can do whatever the hell they want to do, right? Which is why they're going to the Big Ten, right? But UCLA being a public institution, being part of the system, that's why this Board of Regents thing is so important because they have to make the final decision. But I totally agree. Like, it doesn't make sense financially for a school who basically operates at a loss every single year and has for a while. Why would you not, approve a decision that takes you closer to being profitable, that takes you closer to being even every single year? I don't know the numbers well enough to tell you if by going to the Big Ten, they're all of a sudden going to become profitable.
But I don't think anybody knows those numbers.
And that's the problem. I don't even think George Kliavkoff knows the numbers.
I would agree.
Like, that's why you hear asinine things like back of the envelope calculations. That's why, to your point, he never wants to answer the questions about, well, hey, like, how much, like he did this press conference, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
At Pac-12 Basketball Media Day.
And they asked him, hey, how much would, like, roughly, like, the reporter didn't even ask him for a specific number. The reporter said, hey, what's the ballpark on how much UCLA would either save or, like, how much closer would they be to profiting by moving to the Big Ten? George goes off into this whole thing about how it's going to cost them more and the travel expenses offset any profit they would make, which just is not true. And that's why you're hearing about sharing charters and working together and basically trying to create this environment to save costs.
A lot of it is that I think USC understands that there is absolute value in having a travel partner like UCLA. And it does not work for football. But football is very different. It is a 2-day travel turnaround, and teams travel across the country all the time. We've seen it with Utah going to Florida. We've seen it with BYU going just about all over the country. East Carolina coming to Provo, exactly right. Or, BYU going to USF. Like, in football, it's not that big of a deal. It's basketball, and it is the other lower-end sports that you have to worry about.
That don't have 53-man rosters, or I don't know, in college football have huge rosters.
Right, but the other point here is what you talked about. George Kliavkoff didn't want to answer the question about specific numbers because I don't think he can back it up with facts. He said at Pac-12 Media Days, and then he went on the Wilner-Canzano love fest that is absolutely a joke of a podcast because it's not credible because all they do is, slurp and splash on the Pac-12. And he's like, well, we did some back of the envelope calculations.
Right.
And then when he's asked about that at Pac-12 Basketball Media Day, he's like, well, you can go look them up. Well, I'm not going to give those to you.
Right.
Because you don't have them. You don't have them. You cannot back up with factual calculations that UCLA is going to lose money going to the Big Ten.
Facts.
I don't think you can back that up.
Nope.
I don't. And having talked to people in the TV industry on a regular basis about this, most people's concerns for UCLA are that the people who run the UC educational system are not sports people. They are doctorates. They are educators. They are professors. They are politicians. And those people don't care about winning and losing football games or basketball games. And so I don't think they care about the money from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
All they care about is, well, we have to do what's best for the California educational system. But doesn't that mean you have to care about winning and losing football games in the Big Ten?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, yeah, absolutely you do.
And by the way, I think we need to get into this nonsense about the fact, like some people are saying that, you know, USC and UCLA are this rivalry and that they would never share a plane or that they would never work together in business. They would never work together to save money or to create a better environment for the student athlete. And I have some unfortunate news for UCLA fans. You haven't won enough, not nearly enough, to be considered a rival to USC. Do you play in each other's backyards? Are you both LA teams? Do you have a bit of fun with it when you play each other? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. I'm sure that tailgating in the parking lot at USC and UCLA games is loads of fun. But I'm talking about in business. This is not a rivalry. You are not rivals to the point where you would not even consider doing business together. And so that, I think you just have to clearly understand that. They may play in each other's backyards, but they are definitely going to do business together. This is not, you know, Georgia, Alabama. This is not, you know, Nick Saban and Jimbo. You know, that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, the Homer Pac-12 media is trying to compare USC and UCLA to Auburn and Alabama. And I got news for you. It ain't nearly Auburn and Alabama. I can tell you that I work there. I was one of the producers of the USC Athletic Radio Network, and I can tell you and legitimately, there's too many beaches. There's too many golden racks and hot chicks in bikinis. There's too many movie stars. There's too many hiking trails. There's too many theme parks. There's too many everything else to do in Southern California to have one of the most heated rivalries in college sports. It's not BYU and Utah.
No.
It's not Auburn and Alabama. It's not Florida, Georgia line.
With all due respect.
It's none of that. It's not Florida State, Miami. It's not Texas, Oklahoma.
Notre Dame SC.
It's not. It's not. And the thing that I think you have to understand is there is a lot of, the word is apathy. Oh, UCLA won? All right, cool. Go Bruins. Hey, by the way, what time's our sushi reservation? Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's how it is. On the USC side of things, yeah, football fans are a lot more passionate at USC than they are at UCLA. That's from personal experience. And I tell you all the time on this show, I have a ton of USC alum friends. I'm a Notre Dame fan. It's great fun. It's great fodder. They care
There is
far.
no question.
Yeah, they care far more about beating Notre Dame than they do about UCLA.
Yeah.
Far more. But I also think that USC fans understand how important UCLA is to them going to the Big Ten, because it makes USC's life much, much, much more difficult not to have a travel partner with UCLA.
Yeah.
It just
100%.
does. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to call USC and UCLA one of the best rivalries in college athletics. It's not. It just is not. And I can think of it's akin to Cal and Stanford. You know, if a tree falls in the woods and no bear is there taking a dump, does anybody even know the tree fell down?
It's ridiculous.
I don't think that's the exact.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe that's a
Is it time
poor
to
example.
do another Cabela's segment about trees falling down?
Duck hunt.
Yeah.
Anyway,
How about that?
the point is,
Wow.
it's not like even Washington State. The Apple Cup is more heated. Like I look at rivalries and I say, hey, you know what? I would tell you it's very much like BYU and Utah State. That's what it's akin to.
Yeah.
It's not BYU and Utah. It's BYU and Utah State. That's what I would compare the USC-UCLA rivalry to.
You have to win for it to be a rivalry.
Yeah, and they don't win. And, you know, the amazing thing is this rivalry has brought bots into the chat. And, you know, it is 6:20
Damn bots,
Mountain
dude.
Time.
Come on.
It is 6:20
Come
Mountain
on.
Time, and bots are in the chat.
Come on.
I mean,
I know the show is good, but it can't be that good. Come
you
on.
know. I'm just saying, you know. Let's get some of your thoughts on this, because do you guys care about this? Do you guys care about UCLA leaving the Pac-12? I'm curious where you come down on this. I don't.
I think it's definitely a big story. I think that
I think it's a huge story. I care a lot about it. I do.
don't think that the average college football fan necessarily cares about the concept of UCLA leaving, but I think they care about the concept of the Pac-12 burning in the ground. That's what I think they care about.
You do.
In this UCLA.
Wait, hold on. Do you think Georgia, Florida, Boston College fan, any Big Ten fan, even any Big Ten fan who's largely impacted by this, do you think any Big Ten fan cares about UCLA leaving the Pac-12?
Yeah, I think they do, because I think when things like the college football playoff ranking comes out and the Pac-12 has 6 in there and they're trying to flex and make a statement and stuff, I think if you're a Big Ten fan, you're looking at your new friends coming into the conference.
I do think it's impressive, by the way.
Yeah.
I do think it's impressive that the Pac-12 has 6 in this week's college football playoff top 25, which, by the way, you detest. You don't think there should be a top 25.
This is complete garbage, but that's
I'm sorry, did you say this is complete garbage?
The idea that there is no thought put into context with the top 25. First of all, we shouldn't even have a top 25 for college football playoff rankings, because I got news for Oregon State at 25. You're not going to the college football playoff. So we don't even need a
North
top
Carolina
25.
State.
But Kentucky is the greatest thing since sliced footballs in week 1.
But Penn State.
Come on. But my point is,
what I don't understand is, why are you such a red ass about it?
Because
it seems like somebody crapped on your pillow and you're like, I can't believe this. I am so upset that there's a college football playoff top 25.
I'm upset.
Oh my God.
There is 25. It should be It should be the top 10. Right? I don't give a damn about the 16th team in the nation. Right? Who cares?
But we are the Beavers, and we play at Research Stadium.
Neat. Get some more wood out. You're going to need a bigger dam.
Corvallis, Oregon, bitches.
Jesus. I mean, you know what I mean? But my point is
You're
if you're
so
a Big
upset
Ten,
about it.
if you're a Big Ten fan, you're looking at this graphic right here. You're saying, wow.
We got 3 teams in.
Yeah.
What?
And by the way, next year we're probably going to have 5 because we're getting SC and UCLA. Right? And then, so
2
that's
years.
why I think, or 2 years. That's why I think that's why I think a Big Ten fan would care about this. Not because there's some passionate fan base for the Pac-12. Nobody gives a damn about the Pac-12 out east. Let's just be really clear on that. Nobody in Georgia or Florida or, in the Midwest even cares about the Pac-12. But when it comes time to do business and you're going to add teams, now we start to care because it impacts them. So that's why I think they care.
Okay, I'm not quite such a bitter, jaded prick as Jake is. I would tell you that I think there are corners of SEC country. I have a hard time believing that Arkansas cares about the Pac-12.
Yeah.
How many people in the SEC even know that there's a UC Board of Regents or that UCLA is impacted by that?
How many people even
Probably
know
not
what a
many.
UC Board of Regents is?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Boyd Lake, how the heck are you? I want the Utes in the Big 12, so yeah, I care about, but not in a concerned way.
Yeah, you see what I
That
mean?
makes a lot of sense.
But that
makes a lot of
Boyd.
sense.
Boyd is someone who follows football in the state of Utah. So Utah going to another conference, okay, I'm obviously going to care about that.
Yep, Les Wayman, good morning to you. How the heck are you? What's up, M. Alvarez? Cody Strickland says, it's Alex Caruso for best NBA player. Come on, boys. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Neville93, good morning to you. He says, what's up, casual fans? Jesse Harsh says, morning, brother, and UCLA will to wherever will fill up their stadium. So nowhere. Nobody's...
Wow.
Don't be bitter. M. Alvarez says, Jeff Hornacek, best player ever. I want some of what you're smoking.
Right.
Lord Radon says UCLA is gone too. You really do you guys, at the end of the day, is UCLA going to the Big Ten? I think it's 80-20.
I think it's a formality.
I
dude.
think there's
Come
going to
on.
be some red-ass politicians who are like, I can't believe that we would stress the academic abilities and culture of these fine students just to make more money.
Like, for instance,
There's those people. But I also think I know there's two regions who are like, hey, man, we got to compete for a national championship. We need a college football playoff, Brad. Like, wow, Bruins, let's go. Yeah. Like, there are those guys.
Pause, bro. Pause.
The problem is it's the state of California. They are far more worried about figuring out regulation, taxes, budget. They have much larger issues than whether UCLA is going to the Big Ten or not. So I also think their biggest concern is, okay, well, can we squeeze UCLA to get Cal more money? And if the answer is yes, I think that UCLA winds up in the Big Ten. Because UCLA, by the way, is going to be at the Board of Regents. They're going to speak. They're going to be asked questions like...
This is like the meeting to decide everything.
Yeah, this
so
is...
like everyone's going to be at the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the table here.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. G. Lee says San Diego State. Why, yes, sir. Lord Radon says $75 million a year in the Big Ten just to start. Just to start is exactly right,
Yeah.
Lord Radon. You are exactly right. M. Alvarez says money talks and George's bull ass is going to walk UCLA right out of the Pac-12. You would think so. Eric and Raleigh, the Pac-0 is dead regardless of whether UCLA stays or not. Well, it gets them probably $40 million a year if UCLA stays. So it's a big deal. What's up, San Diego State Aztec? Jesse Harsh says the real story is BYU's men's basketball team pulled out a thriller against Missouri State. By the way, anybody see Danny Ainge and Ryan Smith? Buddy sitting next to each other at the BYU Hoops game.
Neat.
Boyd Lake says UCLA needs their own stadium. They need their own stadium on campus in Westwood.
Yeah.
The problem is they play in Pasadena, California.
In the hills of the rich folks.
Yeah, and like I don't know how many of you have been to the Rose Bowl or not, but having lived there and I've been to the Rose Bowl 100 times. It's in a neighborhood. Like, I mean, think about the city that you live in. Look out your front door and imagine that across the street, instead of Steve and Carol, the Rose Bowl is sitting there.
Keep it real.
That's what it is in Pasadena. It is up in the hills, and they dropped a football stadium. And really what they did is put a stadium and build a bunch of houses.
You know where the Capitol is? In Salt Lake, right? You go up the hill in the avenues. Imagine that's the Rose Bowl.
That's crazy.
Like, that's literally what it is.
That's crazy. Anytime we talk college football on this show, it is presented by our good friends at the Barbecue Pit Stop. Oh, my God. You already know that they have the best equipment, right? You already know that it's Traeger, Yoder, Big Green Egg, Camp Chef, you name it, they've got it. And as I said yesterday on the show, every man needs a good set of tongs.
I'm for real.
Right? Like, hey, give me some tongs.
Some tongs.
I gotta turn the wings, rotate
Now,
the
are you
pizza.
more of a metal guy or a plastic
I
guy?
am not a plastic guy, dumbass. They melt under heat. I don't know if you know that. Right? So we're all metal on this show with some rubber guards on the side.
They melt under heat.
Just kind of a thing with plastic and stuff.
Yeah.
Polytechnic institutions. Anyway, the point is, every man needs a good set of tongs. I don't know what's
Y'all
wrong.
feel me?
The synapses are not firing. The point is, they have great tongs. They have aprons. They have every piece of equipment you need. All those. They have these cool little temperature guns. You know how you need to figure out your meat. Hey, sweetheart,
Sorry,
how
I thought
hot's
you
my
said
meat?
you got to figure out your meat.
Hey, check the temperature of my meat. They have little, like those radar, those
temperature guns, radar,
temperature things and
radon
stuff. They have
stuff.
those probes that you stick inside your meat that kind of hurts, but you do it anyways.
Seems like a great opportunity to slurp and splash.
They have all that stuff too. Technology, you name it, they've got it. They have meat because they have butcher counters, absolutely. But they also have every rub, spice, wing dust, sauce.
They even make Traeger mats that you can put in front of your Traeger.
Which I actually think is baller, by the way.
Dude,
By the way,
come on.
I don't have one and I want one. So my guys at Barbecue Pit Stop, go ahead and drop one off.
Yeah, hook it up.
Let's get it done.
Casa de Monte.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the point is, the mats, the Traeger mats that you put on the ground, like they're big rubber mats. They're orange with black Traeger writing on them.
Yes.
Amazing. I'm telling you, amazing. But it's the people at Barbecue Pit Stop, and I'm being all serious. The people at Barbecue Pit Stop are phenomenal. If you get on their website, bbqpitstop.com, and chat with them, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm smoking a turkey breast for Thanksgiving. What kind of seasoning should I use on that? Hey, how long do I need to let that rest? Do I need to season it and then, wait before I put it on the grill, or can I just season it, toss it, and put it right on? There's a big difference. You probably need to let that seasoning break down the enzymes of your meat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they'll give you all that advice. Whether you're a customer there or not, chat with them online, they'll tell you. And, oh, by the way, are you in Texas or Timbuktu and you want that asado seasoning that's the greatness that we always espouse about?
From Flavor Knuckles.
They'll mail it to you. You can order online, barbecuepitstop.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show, or check them out in any of their 5 Utah locations, north to south. We start up here in Logan, down to Layton, over to Murray, over to Lehigh, down to our good friends who are always on fire and sweating their asses off in St. George, because that's just what happens in the desert.
Yeah.
You name it, they've got it at barbecuepitstop.com. A couple more of your comments. That's probably over the top. D5 Terps says, people live in the past and think that things are the same. Kids aren't into rivalries like they used to, and technology will allow athletes to stay engaged in classes without a hitch. But D5, bro, it's academics, and you know what? If I don't have the right pencil sharpener on the wall in Mrs. Toomey's science class... Oh, shit. See, I think this is a phenomenal point.
Yeah.
School isn't school the way it used to be school. One of the things that came out of the Coco era is that we don't need to be in the building to work or go to class. So if you are in Baltimore, Maryland, or if you are in Chicago, Evanston, playing Northwestern, before you head up to East Lansing to take on Michigan State, that doesn't mean you're missing school. You can teleschool. You can telecommute to school.
The coronavirus.
They all have these little things, and I know it's crazy.
Careful.
Tablets and computers.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. So a D5, I think that's an absolute right point. Exactly right. D5 Terps.
Yeah.
To which Lord Radon says, yeah, the only thing to worry about is the time difference of class when they are on the East Coast. Well, what it means is they get to sleep until 9 on the East Coast when their class starts at 7 on the West Coast. Or, hey, if my class is at 9 Pacific and I'm in, playing the Terps in Maryland, hey, guess what? That's noon. I can sleep a little later. Or I don't think it's the doom and gloom that people make it out to be.
It's really not. And by the way, even if it was, that's the price you pay for wanting to be an athlete. I mean, that's always been the trade-off. It's not ever. I feel like everyone makes it out to be some cakewalk to be a student athlete, and it's not. You're working 2 jobs. Like, trust me when I say I know what it's like to work like 3 jobs at once. We do it every day.
Yeah,
so like,
we do.
It's literally one of these things where it's the price you pay, but it's not really that heavy of a price.
No, and there are all kinds of studies about mental health and it damages, and I don't know if I buy that because I don't think we know. I truly don't think we know. And, I saw a couple of comments about, hey, they won't be able to take good notes in class. Are you kidding me? A, classes are posted online all the time. B, you have academic advisors, and I don't know how many people know this. I'm not going to say institutionally, but academic advisors take notes in class all the time. So you'll have
strategy, sir.
You'll have an academic liaison, let's say,
right,
that'll travel with the basketball team. They will watch the class live or on tape and take detailed notes for the players who are in that class. Like, this is not rocket science. So you can get this done. It's a matter of priorities and what your priorities are. And if you are on the UC Board of Regents, and probably justifiably so, your priorities should be the better academic health of the program.
Like, you understand that like for football, because football is very different than other sports. We've said that like 5 times today, but in this conversation, I think it's important to point it out.
Oh, and D5 Terps, exactly right. Classes get recorded all the time. Minimal interference. I think it's exactly right.
And that's my point. Like, if you're a football player, they're going to do that grunt work for you where they're going to get the material ready. And then you're just going to have to go in, work with them, and learn it and pass the class. That's how it works, man.
Yep. Let's see. Kurt Meyer says, hunting on the nines brought to you by Cabela's.
Yeah, Cabela's.
Jesse Harsh says, yeah, it's a great segment. I get a good power nap during it. Okay. Let's see. Lord Radon says, I would think that if they are on the East Coast, they could just get a room on campus at Maryland, Rutgers, or wherever they are and do their stuff that day. What they do is when you have a team that's traveling, a basketball team is the best example because I know this specifically. What they'll do is in the hotel that they stay in, they will have a conference room and they have blocks of time. And a lot of this happens at night. They have blocks of time where, hey, here's study hall on the road. And they have those academic advisors supervise study hall, and they work with the kids in their specific areas so that they still get that education and they get their academics done.
Yeah.
It's the reason that you have all academic athletic teams.
Like, do you see the picture that's being painted here? Like, they are football players that then get help to do the academic stuff. Right?
Yeah.
They're basketball players that get a lot of assistance to do the academic stuff. Like, that is literally how it has to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's vital. I truly do. Let's see. Mike Maples says USC is the only PAC team with a shot at the college football playoff. I don't think so. I think that if Utah can beat Oregon, I think Utah's got a legitimate shot. And we'll talk the Utes and the Oregon Ducks. By the way, Bo Nix is in doubt. You'll hear why coming up at 7 o'clock, coming up in about 20 minutes. Jesse Harsh says, agreed, Jake. No one gives a flying fart about anyone past the top 10.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's exactly right. Brian Hornbeck agrees with you, says yes, top 10. Come on now. Mark Rasmussen pops in and says, Trump 2024, let's go. Well, thanks for that. Lord Radon says, if academics come up, UCLA needs to point out how much more prestigious an academic conference the Big is. Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. The time difference isn't doom or gloom, and it's the only thing I can come up with that may be an issue. Yeah, I agree. D5 Terp says 100% UCLA is gone. Movie Time Blues says the academic consortium, by the way, is called the BTAA. Correct. Boyd Lake. And rivalries are basic human psychology. Has the Holy War lost its intensity? Nope. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. D5 Terp says my neighbors' names are Steve and Carol.
That's cool.
Well,
Hey,
I said
Steve.
look out the front door. If Steve and Carol look out their front window.
Hey, Stephen Carroll.
That's awesome. Let's see. Movie Time Blues says Big Ten presidents would love Stanford. I think they absolutely would love Stanford and Cal, Washington and Oregon.
An institution of higher learning.
I think there's no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. Let's see. UCLA is considering moving to SoFi Stadium. Provo Cougar fan. Yeah, I've heard that. But I also think that there is a lot of merit in an on-campus facility. I mean, I think San Diego State is the perfect example. The problem is if they build it on campus at UCLA is going to have to eat a little of their crow because you're not going to get 50,000 fans in a football stadium for UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not. And this is kind of what I've said about, for instance, BYU and Utah.
Right.
Oh, we've got to expand it. We've got to have more fans. Do you? Do you even lift? Can you get? Well, we got to have Lavelle Edwards should have 70,000 seats. You really think you could sell 70,000 BYU tickets every year?
Obviously not.
Come on now.
Are you serious?
Come on now.
Serious? No.
Serious?
Bro, you can't. And UCLA, if UCLA does what San Diego State did, build a 40,000 seat stadium. Do it. See how full it looks, because it will look full. It's embarrassing, in September and October when the Rose Bowl is empty. And it looks like in the Rose Bowl, because it's so massive, it looks like there's 5,000 fans there. It's embarrassing.
Doesn't make you feel responsible.
Yeah, it's so empty, it echoes. I kid you not. When the band plays, the acoustics are so bad in the Rose Bowl when it's empty. You can hear them when it's not full.
Yeah.
You can hear the band's music bouncing off of the walls, the seats in there. That's how embarrassing it is. Yet you go to a place like BYU where BYU fans are rabid. Like the Rock is one of the most underrated student sections in the country. And hey, we got 60,000 fans. And the problem is the corners aren't sold out. You have empty corner seats or at Rice Eccles. Or I think the smartest thing that Utah did is not expand the seating capacity to some massive 70,000 seat shrine. Because you're not going to sell that place out. Please trust me when I tell you, don't do 70, do 50, and watch how much more full it feels. Watch how much more demand there is for tickets. And what does demand do? Raises prices. You make more money on 50,000 instead of an empty 10,000 seats at 70,000.
Yeah.
That's the smart mathematics, in my opinion. I don't think that you can, I don't think you can do that. Brian Hornbeck says they have plenty of room at Maryland and Rutgers for opposing teams. Nobody cares about them. Nobody cares about Rutgers. Maryland is different. Maryland's got a great tradition of basketball and athletics down the chain. Like, Rutgers just sucks. Like, it is.
You guys just flat out suck.
I mean, you're not.
Because it's garbage.
Is Rutgers even relevant in any sport? I want to say their most successful sport is lacrosse. Men's lacrosse. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, next question.
Men's lacrosse, I believe. At Maryland, you know who Gary Williams is. You know about the basketball program. You know, Rutgers is just irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, anyway, we could go on and on. Let's see. D5 Terp says Stanford, Notre Dame to the Big Ten is next. I don't think so. I don't think you're ever going to get Notre Dame in a football conference. Why would you? Why would you if you're Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Notre Dame, and I know we've had this conversation before, and I know you're probably sick of me espousing about the tremendous awesomeness.
It's incredible.
Of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish package and stuff.
Yeah, the package.
But if you look at Notre Dame's schedule, they could easily be 9-1.
I'm a man.
Let's just chalk up Ohio State as a loss. Okay, that's one loss, right? Okay, I'm good with that. You should have beat Marshall. Who are we kidding? You should have beat Stanford. Who are we kidding? What would their record be if they had beat the two crappiest teams on their schedule? And they didn't.
Yeah.
They'd be 9-1 right now.
Sorry, folks, that's what it is.
They'd be Notre Dame. It'd be 9-1 and probably number 2 in the country. Okay, You lost to Ohio State. They'd be number 3 in the country. At 9-1, your only loss is to number 2 Ohio State. They'd be 3rd in the college football playoff rankings right now.
Yeah.
Why would Notre Dame join a conference? Why? It makes zero sense for Notre Dame football to go into a conference. They're making huge money on TV. They're going to get a bump in compensation.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? They're playing huge games. Like, if you look at the TV numbers on BYU Notre Dame, right? You look at the fact that they have a massive game to end the season with none other than the USC Trojans.
Uh-huh.
You look at that and you look at, hey, you're 9-1. That'd be number 3 Notre Dame versus number, 7, I think, USC.
Yeah.
Does it get much bigger than that on the weekend after Thanksgiving? No. Like, why would Notre Dame join a conference? It makes no sense at all. As we talk college football and UCLA to the Big Ten here on the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. I just don't ever see them. I don't ever see them joining a conference. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, again, it's just not. These people are not going to do things that are illogical, right? Like, when you get to the regent level, when you get to that high up, like, you got to understand, like, it's literally, in my opinion, a P&L conversation, a profit and loss sheet conversation.
So it's not figurative, it's literal.
Yes, it's literal. Yeah.
Literal. Oh, no, please go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Anyway, the point is, I'm awesome and you're not.
Right.
A couple more of your comments. Don't forget, coming up in 6 minutes, we talk NFL QBs. Get ready to answer the question, who's the best quarterback in the NFL? Because I don't know who that is. I do not. And Deshaun Watson's back at practice. We'll talk about all that coming up in 5 minutes on Football at 50. Lord Radon says, I can play that game. Notre Dame could have lost to Navy. Okay, we can play that game. The only problem is they didn't lose to Navy. The only problem is they did beat Clemson. They did beat Syracuse. They did beat BYU. If they had beaten Marshall and Stanford, they would have wins over ranked opponents at BYU, Syracuse, and Clemson. And then if they beat USC, they'd have ranked wins over 4 ranked teams. Dude, they'd be in the college football playoff.
100%. 100%.
But you flipping lost to Marshall and Stanford. How did you lose to Stanford?
They're terrible.
Stanford sucks, bro.
They've got
they
like
are
3
so
fans.
bad. Stanford is so bad.
Yeah.
How did Notre Dame find a way to lose to Stanford? Somebody explain
You out of your
that to me.
goddamn mind.
Because I honestly, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It is so mind-numbing that all 81 of you have not hit the like button on this show yet. I don't even know how to explain that. But even more mind-numbing.
That was well done.
But even more mind-numbing is literally Stanford beat Notre Dame. Not figuratively. Anyway, I'm being a dick now.
Yeah.
Mike Maple. Whoa, what else is no fat ass? Mike Maple says Notre Dame can make decisions for themselves. I don't know what I slept well again. No way they give up that power joining anybody. I agree. There's just no reason for them to join a conference. Kurt Meyer says Notre Dame will not join the Big Ten until Michigan leaves the conference. Bad blood. Oh, no, I think anybody that thinks Notre Dame and Michigan shouldn't play every year is not a college football fan. Better rivalry, USC-UCLA or Notre Dame-Michigan. Yeah, I agree. It's Notre Dame-Michigan. I mean, there's nothing to even talk about there. Nothing. Lord Radon, they did list TK Marshall and Stanford you're living with if. They did lose to, I think is what you meant to. Yeah. But
isn't that the whole concept of the AP Top 25,
Yes.
the college football playoff rankings? Like, that's what we do in college football.
Yes.
It's asinine, in my opinion, but it's what we do.
Look at Boyd Lake. frigging Scholl.
Yeah,
exactly.
you know what I
They
mean?
lost,
Like,
you
come
lost it.
on, dude.
You no, nobody loses to Stanford at football anymore. Nobody loses.
Bryce Love
wait.
has been gone, bro.
Excuse
they
me,
don't
I'm
have
sorry.
anybody.
Christian McCaffrey ain't running through that door anytime soon.
Exactly.
My point is, nobody loses to Stanford. Well, Notre Dame.
Vexes me.
Like, how do you? I swear to God, if Notre Dame beats USC, I will strangle. I will find a stray cat and
motherfucking down ham
feed it milk. I will. It's so frustrating. By the way, real quick,
Yeah.
my dog legit has COVID. My dog.
How? Dude, how does this even happen?
You know how it happened.
Yeah, right, but they don't know how it happened.
You gave us COVID. We gave it to the dog.
coronavirus.
Now, by the way, I've never tested positive for the cocoa.
So I said, yeah.
Is what it is. But so my dog has been struggling. He's 13 years old. He's a great dog.
Yeah, damn good dog.
He's been struggling, and he has a heart murmur, and we thought that's what it was. We called our regular vet, and they were like, no, nothing we can do. But my wife has been using this theory that he has the cocoa.
An antibody cocktail.
So she found a story online about a national study about human transmission of cocoa to animals.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
She calls a number, a vet answers, and you're like, well, hey, there's a vet in Cottonwood Heights that participates in this national study. Let me see if I can get you in.
Hey, guys.
The vet calls back 10 minutes later. It's like, yeah, if you can be there by 5 o'clock, they'll test your dog. My wife hops in the Jeep, takes the dog to the vet in Cottonwood Heights, and the vet's like, hey, by the way, did you know that he has a heart murmur that is right now 4 out of 5 is in terms of seriousness? I was like, whoa, what?
What the fuck are you talking about?
So this heart murmur that my regular vet says is no big deal turns out is 4 out of 5 on a serious level, and he needs to be taking a much more serious regimen of medication.
Yeah.
And they tested him for the cocoa, and this vet that's involved in the national dog cocoa thing.
Yeah, dog cocoa.
It's like, yeah, your dog exhibits all the signs of having cocoa. It's like, come on, man. Come on, man. But it was only $35, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was worth it. It was worth it. Tim Bruckmiller says, go Thundering Herd. How do I ban people on here real quick? Can you? Thundering Herd. Ban all. I don't know how to do that. Go Irish. Good to see you, Tim. I appreciate it. Notre Dame, Eric and Raleigh says, Notre Dame is a classic case of playing to the level of your opponent. Yep. Exactly right. Ruff's official. Good to see you. UCLA can't even fill half of the Rose Bowl. I would agree with that. Joey Zay, Z-A? Z-E-A-Y. Joe Z-A? Jose? Okay. Rose Bowl seats 100,000 plus, though.